those of you who are just tuning in to our global launch of A Woman's Guide to Business Domination, which is just launched today. Super exciting, with kmdbooks.com. And Karen Mcdermott from KMD Books is actually our next speaker. But today we have already heard from, I think, 4 of our speakers, and now we are going to hear from Jane Vandermeer. Jane has written a chapter of this book called Showing Up as Your Authentic Self, which is just so important. Why do I want you to hear from Jane Vandermeer? She is a highly intuitive, gentle and innovative thought leader. She's always knew that she loved high-end fashion. Her favorite place in the world is Paris. I know that. And so it's always been in her blood. She's lived and breathed all of this creative entrepreneurial thinking for around 30 years. She's been a fashion designer, a tailor, a pattern maker, quality buyer, wholesale, retail, lecturer. She's done it at all. And now she has her own business, Finesse Business and Style.com. And so welcome to our launch, Jane.
Thank you so much, Annie. It's so exciting to be here, and gosh, what an introduction! What an introduction! So lovely.
So you have written your beautiful chapter, Showing Up as Your Authentic Self. Why does a guru of high-end fashion now works to help people become comfortable in themselves? Why is that the chapter that you think people need to know about?
Yes, good question. You know, I think in the times we live right now, life is so busy, and regardless of sort of what your life choices are, most of us are super busy all the time. And so what I see happening is there isn't often time to just sit and be and ground yourself and feel and connect, and whether that's tap into your creativity, whatever that is for you. And with that, because there isn't reflection time, we just keep powering forward. And at a certain point, sometimes we'll get donged on the head with maybe a health situation, or something big stops us in our tracks. But while life is so busy, it's easy to be who you think people need you to be. In business, we show up and we are who, if we work for someone else, who our bosses need us to be. We step up and we present in a certain way. Maybe it's a bit not aggressive, but stronger, or it's pushing harder, it's meeting KPIs, it's doing all these different things. Is that your true self? Is that, now I know as women we're multidimensional, we're multifaceted, and that's what makes us amazing. I think most women handle an extraordinary amount of things all at once. And most of the time we hardly say a word, and we'd never whinge about how many things we've got to handle. We just do it. We just, keep moving forward. And I think what happens too is we can easily, we often, especially if we're empathetic or gentle souls, we put everyone else first. We put their needs first, and we don't always put ourselves first. Often that is a really hard thing. So if we bring that back to fashion and styling, often we're a bit lower down on the food chain. And I often work with women who are perhaps in their 40s and their 50s, and it's almost like once children have been educated at that point and maybe stopped paying for school, expensive school fees, women can then come up for air and look around and go, gosh, who am I again? I forgot. I don't even know who I am. The money's been going elsewhere, and fair enough. That's all understandable. But we can lose ourselves along the way. I mean, another example of that too is, if in small business, as you know, we're all about personal growth. And so, because if we don't keep growing, then the business doesn't keep moving forward. So as we keep growing, we're not the same women 6 months ago, 5 years ago. And I don't know about you, but I don't dress in the same way that I did 5 years ago, and what I was doing or who was in my life, or all these different stages. So my approach with fashion is to really give you the tools and show you about color and shape and why certain things suit your beautiful face, and whether it's, bust or all your wobbly bits or all the bits that you are conscious of or want to highlight, and give you practical tools so that I can help you find you again. Because even if you're not big lost, perhaps it's just a refining and a finding a new way forward in terms of colours and shapes and moving forward. And as small business owners, which is who I tend to work with, we are our brands. We are our representation of our business. And we're so busy building businesses that sometimes it's easy to forget or perhaps your skills are in other areas, and then someone like me can come along and refine and help and just bring the whole aesthetic together.
I love what you've said, and I love what you do, how you help people. It's just so important, because I agree with all of that. We're constantly evolving, we're changing our style, we're changing how comfortable we are in ourselves as we grow. Sometimes it gets better, sometimes it gets worse for whatever reasons, a whole lot of variables. You tapped into there that because we are our brand, and we started this global launch today. Actually, I spoke with Hazel Harrington, who did the forward of the book and opened up on branding, and absolutely you've touched, you've resonated there, that while we might be thinking, okay, well, this is a business book, yes, because in a modern world, you are the brand. And if you don't know in this level that Jane's talking about of, well, who are you, and are you comfortable in yourself, and how do you show up, how do you present yourself, how do you then go on to then align with your business brand that you're developing, if you're confused or uncomfortable even in yourself, right? So you must see that a lot with people that you coach.
And the other thought that comes to mind is, and you've captured that beautifully, of course, is, are we dressing right now for who we are in business right now, where you want to go to, where you want to be? If you are someone that wants to be on the speaking circuit, or even if it's presenting to really small groups, is your professional image representation of your brand? And after a couple of years of lockdown, a common theme, and women just seem to share and tell me, is this lack of confidence or loss of confidence that's happened. And there's many reasons for that. It's a bit multifaceted, but it's definitely there. And bodies have changed over the last couple of years. And, look, I never talk weight with women ever, because what I teach is all about loving your body exactly as you are right now, not in 5 kilos time, exactly how you are. Because there's always assets. I can always find multiple positive things. Like you, I'm a very super positive person. I can always put a nice spin on things, and then we'll show you how to play down the bits that you don't want to draw attention to. And there's
that's exactly what we do, though, isn't it, Jane? Like even in business, we'll go, these bits great, we'll highlight them, and other areas not so great, still working on them. We'll all do that. We do that for ourselves, we do that for others, and some parts of that is okay. You don't have to have everything working. You go with your strengths, personally and professionally, and then you decide, what do you really want to tackle, what's important to you. Sometimes it's not. It's just a low value thing that's really going to be hard to maintain, hard to do, and it's not a big deal. In other areas, you kind of go, well, this probably is my best asset, and so let's go nuts on that, right?
Yeah. And if I think about that with clothes, one thing I watch at the moment is, because we're at the end of our winter in Australia, and jumpers and dropped sleeves, so really sort of dropped here, wide through the body, and so when talking with women that have perhaps lost confidence and are feeling a little bit heavier than what they'd like to be, and then wearing pieces that are really big and drop, like what I've just described, all that does is create a horizontal visual for me.
Yeah.
So all that, and if you're full in the bust as well, wide, 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 wide. Now on our screens here, like an example is I'd get you into what they call a set-in sleeve. So that's what that is. So we're bringing it in.
Mm.
It's all about illusion, and that is all working with what you have.
Yeah.
That's just working with and pointing out tools and an illusion. But there's a knack to the illusion.
I always love the whole topic of authenticity. I mean, I live and breathe it, and my business brand, Women's Tribe, is all about authenticity. But for me, it's just relaxing. Like it's once you nail it, once you get over the big hurdle that is actually just to be yourself. and I don't want to downplay that because I know it is very hard for a lot of reasons. But once you actually do, you can sort of get to that next little bit that you just go, oh, okay, I don't have to try so hard. I can just be myself. I can work on my strengths. I can, not worry so much, and then I choose what areas of my self to actually put forward and what not to. Sometimes it's all right to actually go. I choose whether I go all in or actually if I go hold myself back a little bit, and that's completely fine. So with all of it, I love the way you approach it. That you're very individual in your approach. You're not that one size fits all, and that you start with that core person. What are you trying to stand for? What are your values? What do what works for you? And then that will then play out throughout their whole personal life and then professional life as well.
100%. Yeah. And you're so right. Like, it sounds so easy, but gee, it takes a while to get to that point of the authenticity, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Actually, once we can relax. And I describe it a bit like this: when you trying to catch a butterfly, you can't catch it while we're trying so hard. What you need to do is just
still
and let it come to you. Easy to say than do. It's taken me years, and I don't have it nailed every day, but I'm a lot better at it than I used to be. And actually, I talk about this in my book, because when I thought about what to write, and I was so excited to work with you, and this is my first book, and it's always been a dream to write. But I thought, all right, what would the 20-year-old Jane have liked to have read? So what, hopefully, anyone entering, a fashion or creative career, or, even outside that, what could be helpful to show some elements that, hopefully there's some takeaways in there to that you can implement into your own life. And definitely that authenticity, the more and more I have embraced that within myself. I talk about in my book my fashion world and how I compartmentalize my life, my more gentle, intuitive other aspect of who I am that was always it was always talked about in a derogatory way in a business arrangement. So I always fought bringing them together, and it was only in the last, 5-ish years that I've really truly brought them together. And of course, that is the most authentic Jane I can be, because they're all elements of who I am. And it sounds so easy, but somehow it isn't. Somehow we think we should be, and it's the odd should. We think we should be this, and this is how other people do it in our industry, and this is, I never wanted to tick a box, because I'm in fashion, but I'm also all these other things. And then realizing actually that's my superpower. And then when you talk about branding for businesses and whatever, then once I honored that, my branding's clearer, because actually it is what it is. It is truly Jane. Now, that doesn't mean I share every single thing in public. I, of course, don't. but that's what I take you through when we're looking, at the outside and how that presents, and truly, I talk about congruency. So who you are, your knowledge, your sharing, your message, your experience, who you help, your target market, and your aesthetic. Because when those come together truly, that is when we radiate from within. That is when we step into our magnetic, unique little abundance.
Exactly. So beautifully said. That's where we really step out, but it's also where other people then get attracted. Right.
Yeah.
So we're both, well, in one hand, you're like going, oh my gosh, I can finally be me. And that's just such a relief, and get rid of all these anchors and all that sort of stuff. But also once you do that, you then feel like you're just floating going, oh, okay, I'll just work on actually who I am and just be more and more authentic. Then other people actually get drawn to that, or the right people get drawn to it. So you don't have to then worry about, other people, loving what you do. You go, oh, that's okay. Be better off with someone else, but
let me recommend this
brand and who you are is so clear. Then there's no confusing messages, and you look happier, healthier, more refreshed. And then the people who are wanting that go, oh my gosh, I want what she's having, right?
Yeah. And it's not so exhausting. It is simply exhausting trying to keep all those balls in the air. And I would think really most women, most of us have done that at some point, if not for a long time.
Oh, absolutely.
And I can see, having really embraced exactly what you've just said, I look a lot younger now than I did 10 years ago, which is a nice thing, obviously. But I know it is that peace and the exhaustion of holding on all the time.
And I think although you're doing it, in clothing, fashion, and others will be like going, oh, well, it's not just put an outfit on and then that changes it. No, because there's so much to it that actually is finding things that actually feel you, are you, and you end up doing that yourself and becoming more comfortable in the skin you're in, really. But then it'll also then keep extending on. Right. It then encourages it then taps into your mindset and your fears and your, what you've resisted from and why. Because when you get little blocks on all those areas, you'll suddenly go, well, why? And then once you unpack them, not only will you feel more comfortable in yourself, you'll also feel more comfortable in your business, because, it goes both ways.
How do you think you present, if you are speaking, whether it's even in your messaging on, say, socials, but in person, how do you think you present? How do you think your messaging is when it does all come together, or you've got all those blocks?
Yeah. You mentioned a great word before too, which was congruency, and I think that is just so important. And I'm a big, whether it's right or wrong, I'm quite happy to have other people judge that. But, something will come up, like a product or a person who says they're that company, and they'll have this view that I just see the marketing version. And then they show up and the real disconnect, right? And I'm not saying that everyone has to be a model or this or that. It's not about that. It's just the feel. Often it's just the feel for me, because I'm very relational, and I'll go, oh my gosh, that's not who I expected. Or I'll see them just behaving in a certain way, acting in a certain way, or comments that they make, just their tone. It's probably like a tone radar. And there's a real disconnect. And instantly I'm going, oh, I noticed that. So once again, and this has come up in a couple of the presentations tonight, of just making sure that you are aligned. And so therefore, if you start with yourself and then you build that brand out of that, then that will be more natural and organic. Whereas if you've got a product or a service and you're then personal branding, you really do need to have some expertise to sort of start uniting them, because other people notice and other people will get turned on. I'm sure I can't be the only one.
No, I completely agree. It made me think, when people get their headshots done, and so, they've got these very glamorized headshots. And then you end up on a call or you meet people, people in person that drives me bonkers because I just think how negative, and that so many people do that. But anyway, but anyway, you meet people either online or in person, and you sort of like, gee, it doesn't.
Is that you? Yeah, that's right. You don't actually recognize that person.
It's influence, isn't it? You know, like there's something really. Yeah, there's a real disconnect there.
No, that's true, actually. I've had that before because I'm always laughing because I'm just a happy, jolly old lady.
Yeah, you are.
And I've been told that a few times, you know, like try and be a bit more serious or whatever. And I do serious and it just makes me laugh. I tell you what, I just can't do serious. And but even if I do, then a couple of times I've tried to do it and then someone will come up to me and go, are you okay? You look really sad or something's not right, whatever. And I'm like, I'm trying to get, you know, like on occasions trying to do it sort of. So it shows that, yeah, just be as you are. It is what it is, you know. And I've been the same. I've done a career in a bit of a men's world and always worn the flowery dresses and the this and that because I just went, well, I don't need to wear grey suits and I don't need, it's not me. It might be for someone else, but I go, no, I have to show up as I am. I have to be comfortable with that, comfortable in the clothes I wear, comfortable with the person who I am. And it's my work to quality improve that, but it's not to change that. And while you're trying to change all the time, then you're then feeling more and more uncomfortable, right? So you'll get people who had to, you know, felt that they had to. You don't have to do any of that. Felt that they had to, and then they end up being really unhappy.
Absolutely. And actually, that's where I tip styling on its head because it's not about like, yes, I know what I'm doing, but it's me helping you understand why you are the way you are.
Yeah.
And when you understand some of the principles, and I show you through all of that, but then I help you find your uniqueness so that you are the very most Annie that you could be. And really, isn't that what each of us?
Yeah, that's where we're born to be. You're not born to be someone else. It's like, no, that person's already taken. You were born just to be you. So you might as well just concentrate on who that is, what that means, how that person shows up, how that person feels, and then nail that, you know, and adopt all the quirkiness. That's all right. You know, I'm a woman of great love of colour and vibrancy. So you just get all the colour, you know, and someone else isn't, and that's okay.
Like it comes to mind, there's a lady I've worked with. So I've designed everything, all of my offerings I've designed because I've cherry picked everything over, you know, a 30-year career. But there's one lady who's worked on over the longer time, which is my course, which was about 6 months. But she's got this, she runs a not-for-profit. So she pitches to corporates. So she's sort of got to tread that line of being taken seriously and you're going into all the grey suits. But she's got this whole cool rock chick edge to her. She sort of, and it's this spunk and this fun side of who she is. Now, obviously, that's a different aesthetic to who I am, but it's not about me making you a mini Jane. It is, in this case, this lady. And so in the end, we had her in, she had this sort of beautiful, beautiful jacket on. And underneath, she had a Rolling Stones T-shirt tucked into this long skirt and then booty stilettos that were full sequined with crazy design all over them. And she looked so good. She did. She owned it. She walked in like she knew what she was doing. She got the money, which was great for her charity. But it really showed her quirky, unique, spectacular self. And like that is the bit that lights my fire. When we work through to find that, that is shining authentically and showing up authentically, actually.
Fantastic. Brilliant way to finish up our conversation today. Thank you so much for speaking at our launch party. So excited to have you be here with us, Jane. And also thank you for your amazing chapter. I think it's just absolutely fantastic. And I know it's going to add so much value. So those of you who are wanting to grab yourself a copy, you can go to kmdbooks.com. It's available now. It's also available on Kindle and things like that. So definitely go and reach out. And then make sure you look over for Jane Vandermeer showing up as your authentic self, and definitely take a picture of yourself with the book, send it to us. We love to get a little snap. Tell us actually what resonated with you. Most important, it's not just, like read the book. It's actually going, no, we would actually most enjoy getting some feedback as to what point resonated with you, what added value, what that you just went, oh my gosh, because there's such a breadth of women in this book. Like, it really is quite amazing that we have such a variety of women from around the world in different sectors, and that's all intentional. You don't want to read a whole lot of repeats of people's sort of journeys. It's actually a lot of it, and written very differently. Some very academic information plus journeys plus learnings plus support plus tips. Absolutely so comprehensive. And so I thank you so much for those of you who've been tuning in. Our next speaker will be on in about 3 minutes time. Her name is Karen Mcdermott, and she's actually the publisher for this book. So we're going to talk all things entrepreneurism and publishing with Karen. And I would just like to say a final thank you to Jane.
Thank you so much, Annie. It was such a thrill, and especially to share the journey with